what lies behind the prosperity gospel is the presupposition that God is nothing but a means to an end. God becomes a passive instrument by which other desires are achieved. When Jesus said that they were seeking him because they ate their fill of the loaves, it turns out that they weren't really seeking him at all. They were just seeking what he could provide them, what he could do for them. And it's not just the prosperity gospel that makes God a means to an end. We've all related to God in this way to varying degrees. And many of us still have a relationship with God on the basis of this means-end principle. We think we love God, but we really only love what he will do for us. And of course, this is not really love at all. It's more like lust. It's to make God into a passive object that fulfills our desires and nothing more. Do you love God for who he is? Or do you love him for what he can do for you? We actually have a name for this type of relationship. We call them transactional relationships. Relationships where the other person is used for some purpose, right? And not all transactional relationships are inherently bad. Students use professors to gain expertise. Customers use servers as a means to eat cuisine. Employers use employees to produce a product or a service. Employees use employers to receive a paycheck. I often use musicians to listen to their music or comedians to laugh at their jokes. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's how the free market works. But these are not personal relationships, and they are not meant to be personal relationships. I don't have a personal relationship with the chef at the restaurant or with the film composer Hans Zimmer, even though I like to listen to his music. These relationships are meant to be transactional. I give you something you want, you give me something I want, we're both happy. Quid pro quo, something for something. But what happens when you relate to your wife or husband transactionally? What happens when you relate to your friends transactionally? What happens when you love someone only on the grounds for what they can do for you? The relationship won't last very long, and while it lasts, it'll be pretty miserable. And it's not usually the one who has been used who breaks off the relationship. Typically, the one exploiting the relationship is the first to end it. Why? Because once they can achieve their goal without relying on the other person, they will pursue that alternative instead. Means are easily discarded when the ends can be attained elsewhere. The question is whether we have this kind of relationship with God. If you're not sure whether you have a transactional relationship with God, then I ask you to reflect on the following question. What is the thing that you most look forward to about the kingdom of heaven? Notice I did not ask what you merely look forward to. No, I asked a different question. What do you most look forward to? What is it that captivates your desires more than anything else? If the answer is anything but experiencing the fullness of the presence of God, then at least to some degree you have made God a means to an end. Now, if you're one of those Christians who can confidently say that what you most look forward to is the presence of God himself, don't get too high on your horse just yet. Now I'm going to ask you to reflect on this question. Would you still love God if you knew that when you die, you would be dead forever? Would you still worship God today and love him with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind and devote your entire life to him if this life was all you had? You know there are two characters in the Bible who answered yes to this question? Moses and Paul. You can read those passages later tonight if you want. But I'll be honest, I don't know if I can confidently answer in the affirmative. I think God still has work to do on me. But that is the purest and really the only form of love. We often say that the fear of punishment should not be an incentive for belief in God. And it's true, it should not. But neither should the reward of God's kingdom either. For both of them reduce our relationship with God to nothing more than a transaction. To truly love God is to love him for who he is, to love his knowledge and his power and his goodness and his beauty, his holiness, his faithfulness, his mercy and his grace, even if we get nothing out of it. Thomas Merton wrote that if we love God for something less than himself, we cherish a desire that can fail us. We run the risk of hating him if we do not get what we hope for. So no, it's not just the prosperity gospel that makes God a means to an end. Our entire Christian culture here in the West is immersed in this ideology There are common Christian slogans we hear all the time that convey the idea that God is a means to an end. Winning with God, getting God to answer your prayers, achieving your dreams through faith, unlocking heaven's blessings, God's secret to a successful life, God's plan to prosper you, God's blueprint to your success, God's path to personal fulfillment. In each of these slogans, God is the road by which you travel to the destination of your liking. You often hear people say, I tried the whole God thing and it just didn't work for me. I'm always curious what they mean when they say it didn't work for them. And typically what they mean is that it did not provide them with the results that they had desired. It did not provide them with the level of happiness that they wanted. It did not fix their marriage like they had hoped. They did not meet as many friends as they had anticipated. It did not cure their anxiety like they had wished. All these desires make God the road, not the destination. But God is the road and the destination. And as we come to know the goodness of God as he is revealed in Jesus, we should be moving out of the realm of a transactional relationship and into the realm of a true personal relationship. Even if we are only able to relate to God transactionally at first, he will work with that. But we cannot remain in that type of relationship. At some point, we must move on from seeing God as a means to an end to seeing him as the end itself. We must grow out of that pagan mindset into the Spirit-led mindset. The former is idolatry, the latter is true Spirit-filled worship.